On today's show, we've already got some unfortunate injury news. Which one will have the biggest impact to start the season? We talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Friday. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However you might be tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. A reminder that you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We got a great show for you today, a bunch of stuff to get to, including Joel Embiid talking about how the 76ers are going to have to get him to rest some games. We've got a buy or sell segment later on. Plus, we look ahead to our first preseason games of the season, but we're going to start today with some injury news. We've got the news right before we started recording here, Tony, that Trey Murphy has been diagnosed with a right hamstring strain. An MRI that was taken today confirmed that injury. It happened at practice this week. He's going to be re-examined in about 3 weeks. So a tough blow for the Pelicans, but it kind of got us thinking, that's just another injury that we've already gotten. There's been some training camp injuries already, some other injuries that we already knew about, and so we're going to ask the question, which one of sort of this bunch of injuries is going to be the most impactful one to at least start the season? So I'll run through a few of them, and then I'll kind of let you pick. We've got Jaron Jackson Jr. He is out with a hamstring injury, and he could miss the season opener. Luka Doncic suffered a calf injury at training camp this week. He's going to miss at least the Mavericks' first preseason game. We already knew about Kristaps Porzingis with this complicated leg injury. He's expected to miss at least 2 months, but who knows? It could be longer. And then the other big one is Devin Vassell, who's not expected to play until at least November because of a stress reaction in his right foot. So we've got Jaron Jackson Jr., Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, Trey Murphy, Devin Vassell. Which one of these do you think could be the most impactful early in the season?
Yeah, there's a couple buckets I want to start with, which is guys who are for sure going to miss real games and guys who are missing important time. Because even if Jaron Jackson's ready for the season opener, I thought about him really hard at first because of the Grizzlies' front court, right? They dealt with a lot of injuries in their front court, including Jackson last year. They're potentially starting a rookie at the 5, like getting as much history and tempo and connection as you can with your stars and young guys on a team that's really looking to be way better this year than they were last year is really important. And his ability to be able to play back 5 and start the 4 might matter quite a bit for Memphis. So even if he doesn't miss any games, my mind kind of did to that one being potentially important for a team that has a really important season in front of them. But I think the first guy that I thought of in terms of real games is Porzingis, right? When the Celtics do without him, because so much of what changed their identity and made them so threatening last year, they could just 5 out all the time. Horford, Porzingis, whatever, great. They can spread it out. Guys are well elected. They're going to look awesome. What can they do without that? I mean, obviously, I think everybody thinks they'll be fine. This won't actually impact their seeding in any way. But if they have to play catch up because the Sixers look really good, that could matter. And Al Horford's getting older. The rest of theirs can't shoot as much. I think that one could matter quite a bit, even though I still think the Celtics are probably going to be the best team by the end of the season.
Yeah, in terms of like the amount of time that any of these guys are going to miss, it certainly looks like Kristaps Porzingis is going to miss the most time. I still don't know how much it's going to matter because as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, that's the only thing that we really care about. And we don't know if he's going to be healthy for the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't healthy for last year's playoffs, and it still didn't matter. The Celtics still rolled through the Eastern Conference and won the championship. But I'm looking at this list, and I can't help but I keep looking at Jaron Jackson Jr.
Me too.
And it's just a hamstring, so you don't want to overreact to it. But also hamstrings, those could be nagging. Like he could come back and then miss more time. Like if you're on and off for a week, I don't know that the Grizzlies have sort of the reinforcements around Jaron Jackson Jr. to replace what he does. He is so important to everything they do defensively. He plays the 4, he plays the 5. Zach Edey, I think a lot of people are pretty high on him in terms of everything that we're hearing out of Memphis. He's still a rookie. You can't trust him to be the backbone of any defense, even despite the fact that he's 7'4". But if they don't have Jaron Jackson Jr., it kind of feels like everything falls apart. Might be a strong word, but structurally it's going to be very different for Memphis, because so much of what they do defensively revolves around Jaron Jackson, and a lot of what they do offensively in terms of his ability to space the floor and create some stuff off the dribble and do all these things. So the hamstring, of all of these, that's the one that makes me like the queasiest. I'm like, I really, if he could already miss the season opener, that he could miss a couple games to start the season. And I think the Grizzlies want to kind of get out strong to a strong start and really show people that the injuries and all that stuff from last year that derailed their season are behind them, and that they're more like that 50-win team, that playoff team that they've been several years before that. Well, the injuries aren't really behind them since one of their star players is already injured.
Yeah, and you never with hamstrings or muscle injury. Like when I saw calf for Luka, I thought about Porzingis and Giannis in the playoffs last year, right? And how much mattered for them. And I think the expectations, Luka will be back, right? And I even think the expectation Jaron Jackson will be opening night. I also covered Tyrese Halliburton, who hurt his hamstring once and then again and then again. And it's been a big deal for him and the Pacers, his health of that specific leg, right? So even if he is ready to go, it's something they'll have to monitor early in the season. And again, I think on that team specifically, which you just nailed, there's just so many questions about their front court and their reestablishment of a team that they actually need camp maybe more than most other teams because of that. And that's really, even if he is ready to go for opening night. In terms of a guy we're not talking about enough here, everybody's really excited about the Spurs, Wes. Devin Vassell being a 3-and-D win, a big part of that. Obviously, Wemby is the part of that, but they don't have that. They're missing a lot. He's really good. And it sounds like, will be reevaluated like a week into the season. And that's not return, that's reevaluate. You know what that means. So that one I'm curious about as well, because I think the Spurs could be good. I think people are a little ahead of themselves, even though Wemby looks awesome. So I wonder what their start of their season could like if misses 2, 3, 4 weeks.
He's their second best player, right? Behind Victor Wembanyama. And a lot of what it is that they're building is based on Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama building together. Very similar to, I always kind of compare that to what the Bucks did in the early years with Giannis and Chris Middleton. Them learning how to play off of each other is why that two-man game became so special and obviously ended up in a championship for them a few years ago. But the Devin Vassell one is great. And, you look at guys who are already going to miss a real chunk of time here. It's Porzingis and it's Vassell, not expected to come back until at least early November. Like, who knows? And if you want to buy, there's going to be a lot of people taking the over on FanDuel for San Antonio's win-loss record. I think it's at like 36.5, 35.5, something like that. Not having Devin Vassell really hurts that over-under. Not to just, make everything about the over-unders and stuff here, but he's a big part of what it is that their success is. To go back to Trey Murphy, that's obviously not great. You could also argue that Trey Murphy is maybe New Orleans's third best player, top 3.
Well, they don't even know who's starting yet, right? Big deal too.
Right. That's true. And this actually opens the door then for Brandon Ingram to stay in that starting lineup for better or for worse. But yeah, there you go. Like Trey Murphy, not having him, his 3-and-D potential, everything that they want to see with him in terms of, he obviously flashed some playmaking skills last year, attacking guys off the dribble, stuff like that. Not having that and being out for at least 3 weeks, right? Reevaluated in 3 weeks doesn't mean you're coming back in 3 weeks. So we're probably looking at a month and a half probably until he's back on a court. That's a tough blow for New Orleans, who can't really afford, like, this is a Pelicans team that doesn't really have a center on the roster, which makes all of their perimeter defenders that much more important, right?
Yep.
Like the best way to protect the rim without actually having a center, don't let guys get to the rim. And Trey Murphy's really awesome at not letting dudes get to the basket. So not having him, it puts a lot on Herb Jones. You're asking now Brandon Ingram to be a high-level defender, which he hasn't really been consistently throughout his career. Zion has had moments, especially last year, but you don't want to put that on him. And then defensively, they added DeJounte Murray in the backcourt. He hasn't really been that like San Antonio Spurs level defender since he got traded to Atlanta. Maybe you can kind of rediscover that in New Orleans, but it's been a minute for him. So all these, I guess, the moral of the story could be tough. Luka, I guess we didn't mention him. If it's just a preseason game, it doesn't sound like people are that worried in Dallas about that. So,
and they have so much continuity that they know what Luka is. It's a big of a deal to them.
Speaking of injuries, Joel Embiid says, look, he wants to be able to play through injuries. He's always wanted to fight through injuries, but that I guess the coaching staff is going to have to punch him, slap him, take his stuff away for him to get off the court. It was a very confusing quote. We'll try to break it down and then talk about some other buy or sells after this on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. The football season is finally here. Tailgate, stadium food, cheering with your fellow fans. It's a great time to make some memories, and Game Time is the place to get your tickets to see your favorite team play. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time has a ton of great features that make it the best place to get your tickets. With Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And by toggling on the all-in pricing feature, see the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkouts. And with Seat Views, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy so you know exactly what to expect. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The best way to support the show. Leave a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast app. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Tony, we're going to play a game of buy or sell here. So I've got a bunch of quotes that have made the rounds from training camp throughout the week. And I don't know if you've heard about this segment idea before, buy or sell, but basically I'm going to read you something and then you're either going to buy it or sell it as an idea. Novel concept, I know. We'll start with Joel Embiid. I'm just going to get right into this quote. And we're going to try to make some sense of it. Quote, okay. He was asked basically about taking time off during the season, maintaining his health and making sure that he's healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. So that was essentially the question he was asked. Here was the answer that he gave. They know that if they have to punch me, slap me, take my stuff away from me too, not to get on the court, they're going to have to do it. I might get mad. I might curse people out, but I think it's a relationship. We've been working together for years now. Now I look at the big picture, and I've always listened to them, but now it's even more of the time where I should listen and see what they have to say. End quote. So, are you buying or selling Joel Embiid, prioritizing playoff health over regular season whatever? Because we did hear Joel Embiid have some quotes through the last few days, media day, saying like, look, it's not about MVPs, all NBA. It's not about that stuff. It's about being healthy for the playoffs. And then I guess there was a follow-up today about it. And then he starts talking about people having to punch him and slap him and take his stuff away to get him off the court.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the word salad was at the start of that answer, but the it's great by the end of it. And I think that when he extended his contract was the telltale sign that like he knows what this team is and what his chance of winning with Paul and Maxey is. And now it's about maximizing the championships for that team. Not the regular season wins, not the awards, the championship odds. Once you've won the MVP, you do it great. So I don't think there should be any slapping or punching or screaming. It should be, hey, Joel, we'll sit tonight. And he should, yes. And that sucks for fans. So that's something the NBA should have to figure out. But I'm totally doing this because he already spoke with his money that he believes in this team, but he has to be for it to work.
Yeah, I'm buying Joel Embiid's overall disposition about, hey, I'm willing to go 70% in the regular season if that means I'll be 100% in the playoffs. Yep. Where Joel Embiid is so dominant as a regular season player. He was at his most dominant last regular season before he got hurt. And for the record, like his injuries last year weren't because he was going hard. They were freak injuries. And Joel Embiid has had several of those freak injuries. Yeah, people rolling on him and stuff. And so it's hard to kind of say, yeah, you got to go easier in the regular season because of your injury history, because a lot of it's just been bad luck. That said, you reduce, I guess, the chances of something unlucky happening if you're playing in fewer games. I just don't know how many games that they can afford to miss. I think you can get them at the 65 game threshold. You don't get in trouble with the NBA. You're not worried because they set that threshold. They've basically said that's the amount of games it's okay to play in a regular season. So as long as he maybe hits that 65, just hits the bare minimum, that should be fine. But also maybe there could be a minutes limit. There's other ways around this, but in general, him just saying, look, he's already lost 25 to 30 pounds of it, allegedly, he said, and all these things. So I'm buying that Joel Embiid is going to try to prioritize his health and getting ready for the playoffs. I just don't know if I'm buying the fact that this bad luck injury bug is going to just go away magically. So there it is.
I hope the NBA is selling this quote because that would mean the regular season and playoff against each other. Continue.
That's right. Let's move on to Julius Randle, who said today to reporters in Minnesota, quote, "You want to be somewhere where you feel wanted. I feel wanted here at this point in my career. I'm accomplished. I've accomplished a lot of great things on an individual level, but I want to win a championship. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. End quote. The buy or sell part that I want to get to, Tony, I feel wanted here. Are you buying or selling that Julius Randle feels wanted in Minnesota?
I don't sell or buy it, which is not the question, but I think I would lean buy. He is good. They need talent. He fits, I think, much better than people are giving him credit for that team. And they wouldn't have traded Cat for stuff that made them, they think, much worse. I hope. I get it's a financial trade, but they just made the conference finals. So I'm buying that they do want him. I think he can, but I am also not certain they're like, yeah, long term, forever, perfect. Somewhere in the middle of those.
That's why I'm selling it. Like, this guy is, I would be surprised if he signs another contract with the Timberwolves. Like, if it's Tim Connolly in a GM role for Minnesota being like, yep, let's get together in an office and sign another contract together. I'm selling this. I think Julius Randle is a really interesting trade target. Maybe between now and the trade deadline, they could flip him in what could be an expiring salary if he opts out of that player option. They got a first-round pick from New York in that deal. It's from the Pistons. It's protected, but there's some value to it. You could package that together and some other things and see what you can go get in January or February that for a player that might be a better fit or a long-term answer at something or whatever. So I'm glad that Julius Randle feels wanted. The scuttle out of New York was that he didn't necessarily feel wanted anymore by the Knicks. So maybe he just feels more wanted than he did by the New York Knicks. I hope that it works out for Julius Randle. I've always kind of had a soft spot for him, but I'm selling it in terms of, he's going to be there for a long time.
Maybe if they need a long-term fit, they could trade Vincenzo for Karl Towns.
Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns would be a really good fit in Minnesota, actually, right next to Rudy Gobert. Yeah, I think that would. Jimmy Butler showed up to Miami Heat Media Day with no hairdo and, quote, no shenanigans. Are you buying or selling all business Jimmy Butler?
You were there, right? He was late because of a flight, I believe I read. So that is a fine reason. When I heard he was late at first, that no one relayed the light part to me. I went, yeah, I actually do. You know why? Because his contract says it's time to be all business, Jimmy. It is expiring contract time. You're up for an extension all season long. Play and make probably the last big money deal of your career at age 34, 35. Returns 35 this season. Yeah, I'm totally buying it. I'm a little selfishly sad I don't get to see Jimmy and the media guide every time the Heat come to Indiana, but he needs to be and need him to be. So I think they'll be happy with that.
I'm buying it for the same reasons that you already laid out. It's time. If Jimmy Butler's going to be all business, well, now's a good time to be all business because it's time for business, man. Like, you've got business to take care of. You got your next big contract to figure out. He didn't get the extension that he wanted in the regular season or in the off season because he only played 61 games last year. And I think he was mentally engaged for maybe 20 of those. Like, it was not a good year for Jimmy Butler. He can walk into 26-6, but the Heat need more from that from him, especially in the regular season when they don't want to be in the play-in mix anymore. Again, being around the team, this team is motivated. They really don't want to be in a play-in team again. I think they were served a big heaping slice of humble pie last year because they made the 2023 finals out of the play-in tournament. And maybe they were even drinking a little bit of their own Kool-Aid in terms of like, we don't need the regular season. It's all about the playoffs for us. And then Jimmy Butler hurts his knee in the play-in game. And they don't even have him available for that first-round series against the Celtics. They also don't want to be playing the number one seed in the first round. A lot of reasons that they need Jimmy Butler to be at his best, and a lot of reasons for Jimmy Butler to be at his best, mostly in the terms of millions and millions of dollars. So, I'm buying it. My question with Jimmy Butler is, does it matter that there's no shenanigans? Because like you already said, he's 35 years old. You don't typically see players get healthier and better at 35. And so my question is, does it even matter? Or are we just sort of entering a new stage of Jimmy Butler's career? And I guess we'll find out. Last one here. Buying or selling LeBron James and Bronny won't be carpooling to games this year.
Probably buying, I think. Do they live together? Was that a part of that question? If they don't, obviously not carpool. If they do, why not, man? Wouldn't you want to copy LeBron James as a player to get better? I think that would be smart.
Right? Like, I'm glad somebody asked this on Media Day because I had been wondering it. Do they wake up, they have the same breakfast together, and then they get into the car and drive to practice together?
I guarantee they do it at least once as logistics playing on Christmas. So I'm selling it. but I don't think it'll happen every game. But man, oh man, Spam or whoever their TV partner is needs to get in that ride along. That would be killer TV.
That's a great call, actually. Yeah, they're gonna do it on Christmas, of course. Maybe Bronny doesn't want to hang out for all of LeBron James. LeBron has a lot of outside business ventures, so
That's
maybe
true.
it makes sense, like carpooling to practice. Maybe that makes sense, but afterwards, like LeBron James has to go do this commercial for Nike and this thing for Gatorade, and Bronny's like, I don't have any of these sponsorships. I want to go home and take a nap and play some NBA 2K. So maybe that's why they take separate cars. Is more because of after, not before. But there'll definitely be a situation where they got a car. Well, it's got to happen at least once.
So Tuesday in are nice and easy.
Nice and easy. We have preseason basketball starting this weekend. Coming up next, we are going to count down the most exciting preseason games that you got to watch. We'll do that next year on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Again, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. How can you go wrong? That's a win-win. And you can get it all at FanDuel.com. We'll be right back. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Tony, it's Friday, which means it's time to count down to the weekend with our weekly power rankings.
I'm not a system player. I am a system player.
Go power rankings. Go power rankings.
NBA basketball returns this weekend, sort of. We've
Today!
got preseason games today. Yes, today. We're recording this Thursday. It happens on Friday. Maybe you're listening to this by the time the first preseason game starts because the Celtics and the Nuggets are playing in Abu Dhabi at 12 Eastern time. So I'm excited. We've got a bunch of new things, and new faces and new places, a bunch of storylines to monitor. So I thought we could do this week's countdown on the top 5 games, preseason games, that we have to watch this weekend. Number 1, Golden State at the Clippers over the weekend. I think that one's on Sunday. That's our first. That's number 5 on our list here. New look Warriors. Who is Steve Kerr going to start? He already came out in the media and said Steph Curry is the only one guaranteed. A little bit of a shot on Draymond Green, perhaps there, maybe. I do expect Draymond and Steph both to start. Who are the 3 other starters? I don't know. I guess we'll find out, at least for this one preseason game. And then obviously you've got the Clippers too. Sans Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, kind of not really a new look team, but like a little bit of a re-geared team there. But I think the headline there are the Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know who. I mean, someone good is not going to play at all for the Warriors this season, which is they're pretty deep. So I'll be curious about their rotation. I'll be curious about how 36-year-old Steph Curry looks in 20th season. 16th. Just kidding. But still, that's still to me to imagine in the league for that long. It feels like he just got into the NBA. So how he looked, how the Warriors line up, I don't really care for the Clippers this week because of Paul and Kawhi's injuries. So very intrigued by the Warriors, though. Looking forward to that one.
And I misspoke. It's not the Sunday game. That's the lone Saturday game. Golden State and the Clippers carrying our Saturday slate, 7 p.m. NBA TV. Number 4 on our list, Boston and Denver.
Let's go.
We've got 2 games from them, so I'm going to just combine them. We got 2 Celtics-Nuggets games. We got one, the first game, 12 o'clock on Friday. Then we got another one on Sunday. They're playing in Abu Dhabi, which is why the times are a little funky there, and it's why they're playing 2. Because I guess if you're going to go that far, I might as well play 2 basketball games, get 2 basketball games out of it. Obviously, very exciting. We've got the matchup that I think a lot of people predicted was going to be the NBA Finals last year. Obviously, that did not happen, but it's still Jason Tatum. It's still Nikola Jokic. I think that this is just going to be fun, and hopefully we get, a quarter of high-level basketball out of it.
I thought it'd be the finals last year. I forget what Celtics player said. They thought that Nuggets their hardest matchup. You have to play them. So looking for actually seeing it, even though it won't be a 4-quarter competitive bloodbath.
Our next one, Minnesota at the Lakers. So yeah, Minnesota sans Karl Anthony Towns now have Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. This This game just got a lot more interesting. And then it's the Lakers, JJ Redick, Bronny James, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, everything they got going on there. So everybody's going to want to see how the Lakers play under JJ Redick. Are they going to be a little bit more engaged? Again, preseason, I don't know how much level of engagement you're actually going to get out of what is mostly a veteran team. But now you got the double headline here of this sort of new look Timberwolves team and how they respond just days after this momentous trade. So this one's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, so many players I'll be intrigued by. A lot of healthy players. Gibson, obviously Bronny. Can they look any good in another iteration of that? Yeah, Randle, headliner, and everybody has questions about his fit. I mean, he's played with non-shooting centers before. I don't know if he'll play, but they're going to be a whole different kind of team. How their front shakes out without Randle will be interesting to see how they prioritize who's available, because it's going to matter for them all season to make that all work.
And that one is 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Our next one, the New York Knicks at the Charlotte Hornets.
Ooh.
It's the Charlie Brown revenge game.
Let's go.
This is huge. This is big stuff. We got Karl Anthony Towns now on the Knicks, but more importantly, we got Charlie Brown and a bunch of other. Who else was in that trade?
Wayne Wington, Daquan Jeffries. You don't remember?
Daquan Jeffries. Yeah, we got some revenge games happening here. So I'm being facetious. I'm joking here, but no, this will be obviously a lot of fun to basically just see Karl Anthony Towns on the Knicks. Sorry,
I hope he's able to play a little. I mean, it sounds like he's right,
yeah.
But he just got there. It's very fitting to the Hornets, and I don't know if the Hornets care about any of these salary guys they got. It'd be very funny if one of them was like, "Yes, sweet."
Just go out there and see what we can do. And number one, obviously, the New Zealand Breakers at the Utah Jazz. I'm kidding. That's not going to be it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Hey, wait, what was the upset that happened against the Suns a few years ago? I still try her in these games when they play these teams, because I don't want to lose to the whoosies. Miles, no one will be locked into Breakers versus Jazz. Let me tell you.
I'll probably watch it. Number one is Phoenix at the Lakers. I don't know. I don't try to overthink these things, Tony. This is the most star power out of all the games that we're getting all weekend. It's Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal, JJ Redick. Our first look at Phoenix under Mike Budenholzer. How are they going to play with a new coach, with Tyus Jones, all these things? There's just going to be a lot of star power, but also just interesting sort of storylines in this one. This one is on Sunday, I believe. Yes, Phoenix at Lakers, 9:30. Really excited for this one.
Yeah, that game decides who made a better decision. Frank Vogel. Just that one, none of the rest matter. And then they can play Kevin Durant versus LeBron, which is always, I have a lot of think about how both those teams with new coaches, new players will line up. Can they actually be better? Kind of skeptical on, but we'll see.
Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day, everydayers. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, Odyssey, and wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend.